Should you invest in St. Louis? Let's find out in today's video all about market research. So the good thing, St. Louis City has a lot of multifamily, lots of 2 to 4 to 20 unit buildings, relatively lower prices, with relatively high rents compared to those prices, and it's not necessarily at the forefront of everyone's minds because of St. Louis's history with bad press around crime. So you can find some amazing deals in St. Louis. And because it's a Midwestern market in a red state, you typically have lower property taxes and you have more favorable landlord laws, which allow you to mitigate the downsides of consistent price increases and consistent issues with evictions in your particular state. Bad thing about St. Louis is that it's had significant population decline over the course of the last 60 years as people left St. Louis for other major metros like Phoenix, Dallas, Austin, and Denver, while also losing people to St. Louis County, which is right outside of the city. With that, you have pockets of St. Louis which are exceptionally crime-ridden, albeit much lower than they used to be maybe 20 or 30 years ago. And St. Louis has a bit of a reputation for not necessarily being the most beginner-friendly market in terms of learning how to navigate the tumultuous street-by-street nature of the local neighborhoods. So the Don's honest truth, having moved to St. Louis after college, I found that I was able to find some really good deals there from a price per rent ratio. So I've personally purchased more properties, including a recent sixplex that I was able to pick up in St. Louis. And those properties can work fantastically, renting for $1,200 to $1,300 per unit, only costing you maybe $100,000 to $90,000 per unit for a fully renovated asset. Now, you have to be careful in St. Louis, depending on the street by street, and ensuring that you're buying properties with a high prevalence of red brick St. Louis properties, which are very famous for, buying properties that have the updated structurals like no knob and tube wiring and having updated copper wiring. Otherwise, you can run into an insurance issue as you move forward. So where in St. Louis should you invest? Based on the data I looked at, I invest in 63118 zip code, which you can see in BrightInvestor looking at the market rent growth. But the income growth and the rent growth for that zip code had continued to go up and up and up over time, allowing us to be able to charge more rent and make more cash flow on our assets. It's negated by a slight population decline in the last couple years, but not necessarily as bad as other markets in St. Louis or some markets in St. Louis. So South City as a whole, with a preference for 63118 area code for zip code in that market, is a great place to invest. So I would definitely invest in St. Louis. I plan to continue to invest in St. Louis. And it's a good market where the prices still make sense. And it's my personal opinion, as other markets get more expensive, St. Louis is going to become kind of a respite of the affordable as people shift towards the Midwest for affordable standards of living. And anyone who owns real estate there is going to be well rewarded for it. All right, guys, that's all we have today. Hope you learned something about St. Louis. If you have any questions or want to talk to me personally, you can go in the comments below and visit brightinvestor.com/chat for a completely free 10-minute call with me. Look forward to seeing you guys in our next video, and make sure you comment below the city name you'd like me to analyze next in our next video. Have a great day. See you next time on The Don's Honest Truth.